think it's called How to Influence Others. Interesting
How to
topic.
influence others.
Uh,
That's a
yeah.
great topic. That's a great topic. I think
There's
often it
different
depends
people.
on where you're at. So let's talk about the business sense because that's what we're here.
Yeah.
And I guess,
Pe- People like to influence others, isn't it? We like to get our stuff through. Then,
well, I think it's part of it. There's this idea that manipulation's a bad thing. Well, it really depends on the motivation. I mean,
and
if I'm manipulating you, Jacqueline, and it's actually helping you achieve your goals because you're learning something and learning a different way
mm,
of being, maybe, then how does that get to be a bad thing? But we
yeah,
call
I
that
mean,
influencing, not manipulating.
yeah, we call it influencing because manipulating has such a bad connotation. And and the thing is, you know that I also teach archetypes.
Mm,
And and there are these archetypes, like the con artist, the trickster, the spellcaster, and archetypes also, they have a light and a shadow. And for example, the trickster has, let's take the trickster, has a light and a shadow. You can trick someone into doing something that is, as you said, is beneficial for them, which a lot of parents do. I'm getting a little bit off topic, but I just remember how I tricked my daughter into she could into swimming. She could already swim, but she was afraid to let go of the wall, and I tricked her into crossing the whole swimming pool. And now people are wondering how I tricked her, but it was a diving pool actually, and I asked her to look down and see how deep the pool is. So she had her face in the water, looked down, and she said, "Wow, that's amazing." Yes, I said, "Keep looking." Oh, that's amazing. And in the meantime, I was pulling, not pulling her, I was just moving backwards, and then she
right,
crossed the
drawing it
whole.
towards you.
Anyway, long story. Um,
Ah,
you can trick someone into doing something that's good for them.
hmm.
What we're talking. Well, let's call it
I think,
influencing.
yeah, well, I think so, and I think it's also being conscious of what it is that you wish to influence, who you want
Mm,
to influence, and why. And I
yeah.
think, you really go to that motivation first and foremost. So I want to check that box. Um, because again, we are feeling, sensing animals that back up our decision-making process with the available facts, right? We don't work the other way around. And as such, I would suggest the first thing you need to do if you intend to influence somebody is influence them for their good, not yours.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was just pretending I disagree. No, that's right. Or for the greater good, or
Or
for
for the greater good.
for the the goal mission of the business,
Mm.
moving into that direction. But yeah, there's always the aspect in there that is also good for them. Um,
Well, I think if it's in the greater good, then yes, that's fine. And on that basis, one of the core factors there is, well, you need to be that yourself. You need
mm,
to have that, um, or be on the journey
mm.
of trying
We,
to get done what you want this person to do. So if you're influencing, trying to influence, there's a position going, and you want to be the star, the star. You want to be the one that gets selected for the job. Then do your homework. Again, I keep coming back to this. You got to do the work. There's no shortcut. You
yeah,
need to know
interesting how that
what's
works.
yeah. You've got to do your homework and work out what it is that is desirable in the person
And
that will fill that position, then you need to be honest with yourself and see how you check off against it. And if you do check off against it, then okay, fine. Now you've got the starting point.
and you said something really important at the start, um, that you need to be open and being able to be also influenced by others. So let's say you have this business idea or this idea for the project, you usually, we get attached to it, passionate about it, and then, someone might give you some feedback on how to maybe improve on it. So you need to be also influenceable. I know that's not a good word, but
Well, we have another word for it called vulnerability.
our vulnerability. Yeah, that's a good one. Um, that is that is a highly undervalued or maybe misunderstood way aspect of being. Yes, you need to be vulnerable and open to receive feedback. It's a two-way street.
Mm.
Um,
And also, the other thing I want to say in that, Jack, is that when receiving feedback, it's often a very, very good idea to ensure that the person who's giving you that feedback understands that you have heard and understood what they're saying. So because otherwise, you can guess, oh yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, and that's good. And you just carry on doing what you're doing. Now, carrying on doing what you're doing might be the best decision there, but it's going to make that person who's tried to give you some feedback feel unheard. Again, we're feeling
yeah,
creatures. So
yeah,
make sure they understand that you've heard them, and then perhaps have the discussion, which can be frustrating if you know you're already right, but have the discussion because maybe you're not. Maybe there is something in this. Have the discussion and then move on.
yeah,
This sets up a situation and an environment or a universe, if you want, where influence is possible because you're allowing influence on
mm,
yourself
yeah, yeah,
and ergo granting license for this process to work in the environment that
yeah.
you're in.
That's right. And I think, I mean, I've made that uh, sort of negative experience myself in my days where I was trying to influence a group, and it wasn't that I wasn't open to be influenced back, but I was so passionate, and it was like a done deal, and I wasn't considering that people would have a different opinion. I mean, that was a long time ago, opinion about it, and then I realized some of them were actually anxious and scared off, and I realized, oh, that's interesting. I was totally excited about it, but I didn't have the awareness at that time, 20, 30 years ago, to see, oh, not everybody thinks like me, and
Mm,
not everybody perceives this project as a huge opportunity. Well, I
mm.
learned um, from that.
Yeah, look,
You should,
I've got to tell you this, Jack. This is funny, okay? Because my darling wife, when she gets her mind set on something, it happens. Trust me. Like it's like
oh,
and whatever work and whatever energy and whatever is necessary to put into it, it gets put into it. And I've actually had to say to her, honey, just slow down so as I can catch up with you because you're out there going for it and bless you. And I do realize that I'm the two I see here, right? I'm just the follow-up act. You're the one that's making the stuff happen. But it can be destabilizing. And even someone with my training and my background dealing with my wife is like, hang on, let me
that's
breathe
that's
here.
that's right. I mean that is, and it happens so much, and it's not necessarily with a bad or poor intention. So people get so
Oh
passionate. Oh,
no.
look at this, we're doing this, and then half of
And
the
you can
team
see
is
the
like,
vision so clearly. It's like,
"Yeah,
I'm going here, but you've got
going
to bring
here."
the people with you.
That's right. That's such an important point. You have to bring the people with you on that journey. You probably thought about this project or whatever for a long time, but they didn't have the opportunity, and they were confronted with these facts, and they think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to put this into reality? And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, look, we could see the particular project that comes to mind uh, resulted in a lot of work, physical work having to be done, a lot of stuff having to be sorted and dealt with, and all the rest of it. But the possibility of it was there, and
yeah,
once bitten with the bug, there's no energy. And If you want to really make it effective, then you want to make it a team event. You want to bring people in to actually help you because it's, 1 + 1 does not equal 2, it equals 3 in context of effectiveness. We know that from Taylorism, separation of labor and all the
Yeah,
rest of it. So you really do want to bring the team
yeah,
with you, and therefore you need to communicate. There's another key point in influencing. I think this is also, Jack, this goes back to setting up those discussions. All the subjects that we've talked to so far on this podcast, if a listener is actually listening to the advice and actioning the advice, then they are already en route to setting themselves up to be a powerful influencer in their
mm,
workplace, just quietly going about their business, leading from their chair in
yeah,
whatever capacity they
yeah.
can.
And
And
yeah, and again, you dropped a very important note there. Where sometimes you drop these bombs there, like in a positive sense, and they can go under. You don't have to be the front runner to influence others. You can be leading from the back. Some people lead from the back, sort of, and let others do, and others are front runners, which is fine either way. And but you don't have to be a front runner to influence others. You can influence others with a different leadership style. If that's not your thing, that you're standing in front of the room or in front of hundreds of people and influence them sort of in an evangelic way to purchase a certain amazing product or so.
well,
Um,
this is the subject of, are leaders born or are they made? And I remember having a large debate with my uh, MBA leadership professor over this because I believed that leaders were born. Basically, you either had it or you
mm.
didn't. And over the period of 12 weeks, she beat that belief out of me
Oh, it took you
and
12 weeks.
and taught me that it is actually it's a learned art.
It,
And
yeah.
part of it is a major part of it starts with listening. If you want people to listen to you, if you
Oh,
want
yeah,
to
heaps,
influence
heaps, yeah.
people, then listen to them first. Give them the experience of being heard. And then they know you are one that actually hears, actually receives
Mm,
the messages, goes looking for them.
yeah.
And look, there's a lot in the Enneagram method. We talk about filters and how much of information we block out. And much of what we receive is simply a result of how we've lived our lives to date. But you can overcome that by being an active listener and really
Mm,
learning. But that's how you set yourself up to influence.
yeah. Yeah. That is also such an important point because you need to listen first, if you want to influence stakeholders or clients, you want to influence them a certain way. You want to provide something that's of benefit to them if you
Mm.
want their buy-in, and to be able to do this, to provide something of benefit for them rather for you only, you have to listen what they really want, and when they feel listened to, that's when they are receptive and open, and that's when you can influence them with your great idea.
And
And
it's got to benefit them, as you say. It's got to
yeah,
benefit them. I've got a
it's
meeting
going to
coming up tomorrow with a politician or would-be politician, and and
politicians.
their interest is getting elected. So
Well,
I need to be clear
interesting.
in my mind that whatever information I impart to this person and the reason for the meeting, the reason he's meeting with me is because he believes I can help his election prospects with information that I have and why my role in the community. Um, and I think it's really important when you're looking at your boss, your team, whoever else around you want to influence, spend some time figuring it out. What is it that they want that you can deliver?
Mm,
What
that's
is it?
that's right. You're not going to be elected if you propose something that nobody is interested in.
Well, that's right. I mean, in this particular situation, you could go there and all a whole lot of this is wrong and that's wrong and all the rest of it. But the truth of the matter, he should not put any energy into a lot of that stuff simply because it's not going to make any difference to his key goal, which is to get elected.
Well,
So
that could be interesting. I'm sure that's very enlightening for him. I'm sure it would be very enlightening for me, but I'm not going into politics.
no, 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 no.
Oh,
Look,
but
look, all I'm
still, but
saying to you is using as an example of making sure you're offering the right carrot.
yeah,
Right? If
um,
you're not offering the right carrot in context of what it
mm,
is that this person wants, what they need, that
and
that's
and
how you
this
get influence.
and this client of you who wants to be elected, I'm assuming he also has a bigger goal and the greater good in mind
He's a big heart for
for your.
humanity, yes.
Yeah, all
Yes.
right,
He actually
right.
has his own not-for-profit and all the rest of that. So he's an
Yeah, yeah,
interesting man
yeah,
in that
yeah,
context. So this is
yeah.
part of his way of getting more influence and more becoming better known. So is that, there's a saying in politics, you may not win every election, but you never lose because you gather a great deal of
Mm,
publicity
mm,
around who you
mm.
are and what you're doing. So knowing those signs of motivations, and then
Yeah, yeah,
what is it that you
yeah,
want to be known for, ergo the subjects that you are interested in furthering. And this is the same in the workplace. So
yeah. It is exactly the same. Yeah,
your immediate boss has got aspirations and ideas of what they want to do. They've got a plan. Well, I hope they have, because it's not helping you if they don't. If they have a plan on how they see their career working out, and the best thing that you can probably do is get alongside them and help
yeah, yeah. And
them.
if you want to also kind of progress in your career. I mean, that's not quite the topic, but it also is alongside influencing others. So you need to influence your boss that you can progress in your career. You want to help your boss to look
And
really good.
well,
That's,
that's right.
I mean,
And
that sounds superficial, but you want to really support and help your boss. And that's that's part of the mission. Sometimes let's say, for example, the CEO is there, and sometimes the team, you may not have the right, the same opinion about something, but then the team has decided to do something. Then your role is to support the CEO and the team to do that, and not just throw spanners into the works. And I didn't say no. I didn't want to agree to this, and that is really undermining your level of influence.
mm,
And yeah, anyway, I've got a little
yeah,
bit
well,
of
like I've talked in earlier episodes about my major mistake in leadership was not being a good follower,
yeah, yeah,
and that
and
undermines the way people follow you and believe in you. If you mark yourself out. Look, there's always exceptions to the rules,
and
but there are also consequences and prices to pay if you do want to be say,
yeah,
look, I'm not going down this road. Well, you're obviously going to lose influence in that situation, and if you're wrong, there'll be consequences.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think also, I mean, the word influencer has become very popular on the social media platforms or through the social media platforms, and it's viewed
Oh,
sort of one
influences,
for
yes.
influences, and it's viewed from the perspective of a little bit being a little bit egocentrical, and I'm the influencer and I do this. Um, but as you said, you also need to be a good follower, and it is not just about that as such. It's about the greater good. What are you influencing people to do? Is it in their benefit, or is it because you want to be known? Oh, look at me, I'm the influencer.
Well, I suppose that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to influence people. We're trying to influence people to be better leaders in their own life
We
and
are.
provide that information. But I do shake my head at some of the influences, and I know damn well that I'm not the target market. No wonder.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. And we
If
also,
you just go into Instagram and see the top influencers, you're like going, rightio.
yeah,
So be
yeah.
careful you're being influenced by people. Be careful. Run a ruler
That
over
is,
it.
that's also a good point. Um, in that, and yes, we are here to influence others, but we're also open. We always ask for comments, feedback, and we've done the corporate career ladder, so we really just want to give back to the
Yeah,
community.
yeah. As I often said, we might be over the hill, but we want to help people up the hill.
Yeah, so we still have
And what's really
purpose.
important here to understand is that human beings haven't changed. We look with the way in which we communicate changed, and the miracle of Zoom that is what brings these podcasts to the world, um, and other such things. I'm when we remember the Jetsons and video phones, amazing. This was not possible when we were kids. Here we are, and it's just run of the mill. But what hasn't changed is the humans, and we're seeing that now. Witness this issue around social media and how it is damaging children because of exposure too early to social
Yeah,
media.
yeah,
So
yeah.
quite clearly, the human being hasn't evolved fast enough to deal with the information overflow, which is now our lives. Um,
And that's right. And we're now sort of at the end. We're now starting to experience what the impacts are of this information overload and this constant being influenced by
mm.
certain narratives and certain products. And yeah, it is yeah, it's something that we're experiencing now.
And it can be very, very subtle. And these are all
And
things that I invite our listeners to look at in their own patterns of behavior aimed at influencing it. It's going on all around you.
it is,
And
and yeah, yeah, go
be
ahead.
aware of that.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've watched this really interesting experiment with people who are influencers on social media platforms. So this particular organization was running a test with them, and they invited like a handful of influencers, and they asked them if they wanted to participate in this test. So they explained to them, we want you to create, I don't know, that I can't remember the precise details, but they said something along the lines, we want you to create, let's say 5 product videos, um, and you can be as creative as you want to be. And here's your little box, and you can use all these things. And you just come up with a 1 minute or 30 seconds promotional video. And then, we do a few of those, and they showed them a presentation, and they showed them these are the tools. Everyone has the same toolbox, props and things they can use.
Hmm.
And yeah, so off they went, and they all did their promotional videos. And what the outcome was that all of them, I mean, all of them came back with the very similar product videos using the same props for a particular product. And they all used those props. And basically they had, let's say, 5 people there with 5 videos, and each category of video was a very similar outcome. So what they then said, okay, we in our presentation to you have influenced you, or you could say manipulated, it was a test,
Mm, mm, mm.
manipulated you with the way we presented these things to you. So you were manipulated by us to
Right, you were
use
set up.
certain props, and
Yeah.
they were like absolutely stunned because they thought, well, this was my idea. I'm the creative mind, and they didn't realize how much they were influenced to use these particular backdrops and props. And I thought that was really interesting. And
Mm.
then we think, oh, these influencers are so creative, but they're also being influenced, and often they don't know how much. we don't know. We're in this soup of being influenced left, right, and center. And it's probably going a little bit off track here with the influencing part, but it's kind of bringing this point home. Where are you being influenced and you don't know it, and you claim it as your creativity? Oh, this was my thought, was
And
it?
also, because in fairness, that is a technique. That is a
Yeah, it is. It
knowledgeable
is.
technique. So if you want to influence a particular project and and you've got a good toolkit, and you bring that toolkit to the table, so it makes it easier for the other people working on the project to to pick your tools up and use them, then the chances are it's exactly what you've just said about the influencers. They've been given a toolkit, they've gone and used it magically. The
So that
limits of what's possible have been set by that toolkit.
No, it
So
wasn't set by the toolkit. It was set by the presentation. The presentation was the one that manipulated them
okay,
to
right, yes,
use. Yeah, so
I
they
hear what you're
used
saying.
certain, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Mm,
they just gave them all the same toolkit, so no one
mm.
has, an advantage or something. But it was the presentation that influenced them to use certain props for certain products and certain videos. Um,
And
and
but
yeah,
still, that technique can be used, Jacqueline. I
oh
mean, like
yeah, yeah,
that's
it
very,
is
very
used.
much. But you have to. I keep coming back to this. You've got to go and learn, and you are learning because you're listening here. So you're obviously interested in how to influence people, because you wouldn't be listening to us.
Yeah.
So let's just take that as step one. Make sure you're taking notes. Step two. But this idea of if you're working on the project, present, have ideas, how you present them matters, and how concrete they are, how believable you are, your own gravitas. I'm thinking of ancient Greek communication. Was it
Oh, yeah,
logos,
logos.
gravitas, and I've forgotten the other one.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, but
Here we
ultimately
go.
you've got to have reason, you've got to have credibility, and you've got to have
Something
emotion. You've
with
got to be
passion.
passionate.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, yeah,
No, I hope we bring passion here. I care. I certainly care. I know you do too. And
yeah.
we hope we bring logic into these discussions. But influencing others is a really important part, and often we don't even know that we are doing it. There's another aspect. So
Mm,
everything you do, every time you turn up on time or late to work or whatever, everything you do is part of the influence that you wield and the
yeah, that
results
is
that you get.
very good point because you inadvertently influence others,
Hmm.
and often you don't know it,
You could be completely oblivious to it, Jacqueline.
completely. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
had people come to me and say, "Oh, you really inspired me." And I go, "Oh, what?" Because I kind of thought that was a bit of a fail, but apparently not for you. And that's okay. Uh, but also,
And
it showed a
is
lack of awareness on my part
that you
in
can
those
do this.
circumstances, and I need to learn from that.
Yeah. And you can negatively influence. I mean, we had this example recently where a new employee started at a company and they said that, well, the working hours is at 8, starts at 8. And then she came in at 8 and there was only one person in the office and she realized, okay, everyone is coming later. So she came at 8:30. Then she realized, well, still not many people in the office. Then she came in at 9. And then she realized, okay, so they say 8, but really everyone is coming in at 9. So she was inadvertently influenced to drop her standards. And
Well,
you also need to continue consider this, that you can influence others by your behavior into a lowering your standard.
well, that's all right. And if that standard doesn't matter, what about the other standards?
Yeah, that's right. That's
So
right.
which ones, which standards are we holding up here, and which ones are we not?
Yeah.
And
And
that's again comes back to that there's this ethical thing that goes on in there, isn't there? Now, what are your ethics? Be true to who you say you are,
Yeah.
because you just don't know who's watching, do you?
Yeah. And if you do this as a leader in your business, you lowering the standard. So if you
Hmm.
want everyone to actually come at 8 o'clock, I'm sticking with this example, then you will have to show it up at 8 o'clock yourself. Start with, because then otherwise everyone else is thinking, oh, I can come in half an hour later. Oh, I can come in an hour later.
Mm.
And yes, and it often trickles through to other standards as well. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
So what
right.
are you doing? Where are you at? And so I think what we're kind of saying is in order to influence others, you really need to be the sort of person that others look up to or others
Yeah,
look to for an example. So
yeah,
whether that be your colleagues or whether that be your boss looking for the next person that's a leader, it comes down to you looking in the mirror and being that person. And
mm,
that's where I'm going to do an advertisement for the being profile. That's why I'm doing the being profile, and understanding how you are turning up in this world is such an important tool in being able to create the person you say you want to bring your
yeah,
unique being
yeah,
to play in that environment. Because look, let's be honest, the reason your unique being is so important is everybody else has been taken. Imitating somebody else to your left or to your right, well, that space is already occupied.
yeah, yeah.
What
You want to
you
project,
do, I love pointing out to people, you are impossible. There's no mathematical possibility of human life existing at all, let alone in the form that it is in Jacqueline Hostel, John Williams. We are
yeah,
impossible.
it
So,
is.
given that we're here, one has got to have a big presumption that there's a reason, and that only reason can be is because we are unique, and whatever is ours to bring as unique humans into the environment is what will earn us influence.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. We want to express us. We want to be the best version of us and influence our life.
Yeah.
And often we have all these sort of layers on top that stop us from doing or being that. And the being profile assessment shows you these layers, and then you can peel them off, one layer, another layer, so more of your unique being comes through, and you can then be very influential, because the more you being yourself, authentically yourself,
Hmm.
the more the chances are you can influence others. And that doesn't mean
That's
everyone
super.
is going to follow you, but you can influence others,
That's a super
especially.
important point you make there, Jacqueline. Your relationship with authenticity,
Mm,
and how much do you value knowing the truth about your opinions?
yeah,
How deep are you prepared to go to challenge what you hold near and dear to be true,
yeah,
so as that you can be the human in the room that's actually dealing with reality.
yeah,
The closer you can get to reality, the more powerful you can become, because the more awareness you have of what's possible.
that's right. What's possible and how to make it possible
Yeah,
versus
or vice
tapping in the
versa, not
mind.
possible to stay out of
Oh,
trouble. So,
yeah, okay,
you
good
they're
point.
clear.
Stay
Yes,
away.
look, this is what the being framework is all about. The work of Ashkan Tash here, and if you've not read it in the books or listened to it, please get stuck into it, and at the very least, get in touch with us if you would like to know more about the being profile. And look, we've this has been developed now so as that we can work out how companies presenting, how a
Yeah,
group of people inside a company are presenting. What would happen if you change person A out? And here's your selection. These are the candidates. Well, which one is going to work best with that team? The profiling tool will tell you all of this. So I suppose then when it come right back to Socrates, how do you influence people? First, know yourself.
mm,
And
it's
then build on that. Be about all about building your own personal power and who you are.
And that's a lifelong journey. It's a relatively simple statement, but it is a lifelong journey. And it is also in the journey that's where the fun and the joy is, as well as the challenge.
Isn't that's often such a hard thing to actually get your head around that, hey, there's the fun's not at the destination, the fun's on the journey. My grandfather used to say, "Never take life too seriously. Nobody gets out of it alive." Well, you don't. So,
No,
and
nobody
you come
gets
in
out
with
of it
nothing, you
alive.
leave with nothing. This is a game.
Yeah,
This is a game. But the more comfortably you could live the game, the better off you are.
yeah,
Granted, the way you'll
yeah.
get to be comfortable is by getting the greatest value of who you are. Now, what's the most valuable thing on earth? Something that's unique. That's you.
Mm,
That's me and who I am, Jacqueline, who she is. Be the best version of yourself, and people will listen. People
mm.
will notice. And if they don't, well, look, you've done your bit. Try again.
Right. That's a very good notion to finish today's podcast because
Cool.
we can't improve on that.
All right, we'll see you all next time. Cheers.
Yeah, see you next time.